Nosferatu is one of the greatest movies I've ever witnessed, and I want to talk about it with mimosa. This is my second glass. So, I'm not a huge moviegoer. It wasn't a privilege that I had growing up as a kid, but recently as an adult, I've been exercising my free will to actually get up and go see movies instead of reading opinions online. I'm really glad that I did this because there can often be a lot of conflicting reviews, and I just wanted to go and see it for myself, and I'm so glad that I did. And I have notes, so let's get into it. So the first thing I wrote down was he's eating them like raw. There is a part in the film where a guy is so shook by seeing somebody responding to the evil energy that's overcoming the city, and certain people in there are becoming demonic in their own way, so they're eating live animals, and a crazy guy who did it in front of someone, so he reports it to the local medicine man, and it's basically just like, this is the craziest I've ever seen. The comedic timing for it was amazing. That really helped me settle into the feel of the movie because I was a little bit nervous. Movie theaters are very dark and intimidating to me because I'm anxious. Cut to a few minutes later, they captured the crazy guy and they're trying to investigate why he's acting the way he's acting. And in the midst of his little like spiritual demonic rant, he's just like, he chomps off the head of a live pigeon. And the way that it's shown in the film is absolutely crazy because it's directly in front of you. And the medicinal guy is just like, young fellow, why would you do that? And the way that he says it is reminiscent of somebody just being like, but why though? In modern language, like in Ebonics terms. So it was hilarious. Secondly, you have to see this film with full immersion. I mean full immersion. I went to the AMC Dolby Theater. That means there's the speakers go in and out different sides depending on how it's designed in the film, and then also it affects your seat so you feel the vibrations. I think that that's really necessary because when there are certain shots, especially towards the beginning of the film where he's first entering into Nosferatu's or Count Orlok's his castle, Thomas, who's sort of the main character, he's the husband. When he first shows up to his castle, there are scenes that distinctly cut out and make the entire screen go black, and the entire theater is like that. When flames and lighting is on the scene, it also lights up the room the same way, so you need to have full immersion to really understand the impact of everything that's happening, to really make you feel it. So I have never had a film, surprisingly a film about an ancient vampire during medieval times. I've never had a film make me feel so human. Pure, raw fear. Like just being face to face with genuine danger. It didn't feel so spectacular like most vampires film typically do now, because a lot of films hyper focus on CGI and all these big budget effects, but this movie is very grounded in the way that it establishes fear. It's very quiet, it's very intimidating. And there are also parts of the film where they use those classical style of sort of showcasing fear. So like scanning from side to side very slowly in the same scene, in the same cut. And it is so creepy. It's like when you yourself are at home and you're walking through your hallway at night. And even though you know this is your home and you're safe, there's a small part of you that still feels just a little uneasy being in your own home, and that is the exact feeling that I got watching this movie. And there's just the realism that I had that vampires are actually evil. He is terrifying. Count Orlok was captured perfectly. Bill did an incredible job. I was dumbfounded when I found out that he was the one playing this vampire because I just couldn't tell it was him. But the movie was it was incredible. I also feel this way about the scenes that were made to push arousal. So like her push and pull between feeling, or her as in Ellen, who is the wife of Thomas, and she is the eye of Nosferatu or Count Orlok, who is essentially traveling the seas to come and capture her after he imprinted on her as a child. The way that Lily Rose Depp portrays being violently seduced, both of those words meaning literally, in an invasive, incredibly overwhelming, but also exciting way, 10 out of 10. Moving down to the next point, like those older films and the original Nosferatu, if this film were captured in black and white, I don't think it would have hit as hard, but I would love to see like a director's cut where there are the times where Nosferatu is like at the height of creepiness. So like there's a part in the film where his hand's shadow reaches over the entire town and you can just see it traveling like that in black and white. I finally understood why original films that were created this way, silent films particularly, why they were actually so terrifying. I finally understood it while watching this film. The next point that I made is kind of hard to read. I'm not used to using this format, so I apologize, but I just wanted to say that kids were unalived in this film. Like, we got to see it. And I think that that really set a precedent for the audience that this is not favoring towards softness. Right before this happens to the children, who is the two girls of Ellen's best friend, who's Anna, I think, and her husband, right after they show a cut of them praying and basically saying a traditional child's prayer about, now you lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep, they say this prayer and everything is bright and warm and beautiful. And then the way they get massacred on film is so heartbreaking. And the wife, who is Anna, sees this happen in front of her own eyes. Count Orlok gets his hands on these children, he unalives them, and then he unalives her. Also noted that Anna is pregnant. So 4 people were killed within a matter of, I want to say, 2 minutes. Terrible. And I also just wanted to say that this was a very, very, very good idea on the director's part, because it really does set a precedent that the fear is there. At least it was for me. Bill comes to the front. Come to the front! I didn't even fully read the cover when I went to enter into the theater because I was running late, so I was just trying to get to my seat. I didn't realize that Bill Orzak, or I forgot his last name, but I did not realize that was him. Like, I was so shook going to read like the writer's credits and doing a little bit of research afterwards. This man deserves every award that's thrown his way. I mean, phenomenal work. Next point, I am so glad that Lily Rose Depp was released from the shackles of the idol. I could tell, first of all, she's a Depp. Let's start there. Her father is who he is, and he's an incredibly flexible, chameleon-like actor, so I knew that she had the propensity to be really fantastic on screen, and I was so disappointed that the idol got ruined because of The Weeknd and Sam Levinson's failure to stay with the original idea, and it just completely butchered her ability to really show up on screen and be as phenomenal as she was in this movie. And I don't really care what anyone has to say. I loved her in this. The violent shaking, the eyes rolling in the back of her head. There were scenes where she would just be like foaming at the mouth. Like, she did what was necessary for portraying what it is like to be possessed by a vampire. Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, whose name is fleeting me right now, he is the husband of Anna, and he's in denial about there being a vampire, period. He thinks that it's a joke, he thinks it's ridiculous, and when his wife is struck with the same possession, right before Nosferatu attacks his family and takes his wife, who's pregnant, and their 2 daughters, he's just like, Ellen and Thomas, get out my house. I don't believe you. He doesn't believe the medical practitioners. And he just completely throws away the entire idea that this is real, and this ultimately results in the death of his family. The way that he cried at this funeral was heartbreaking. I don't really cry for films. I usually just get really immersed, but I've never felt so bad for someone. I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna make a part 2.